Hi, welcome to the Crypto Republic. Before we begin today, if you're serious about staying ahead in this once-in-a-lifetime financial shift, make sure you like this video, drop a comment, and subscribe to Crypto Republic. Hello, XRP Army, and welcome back to the Crypto Republic, your go-to channel for the latest teenage updates in digital assets. Before we get started with today's business, make sure to smash that like button, ring that bell, and subscribe to the Crypto Republic, bringing you updates every day at noon and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just a reminder, this video is for educational purposes only. This is not financial advice. Always do your own research before making any investment decisions. Before we break it down today, thank you to everyone who takes the time to subscribe, like, and share these videos and comment. Your engagement helps get this information in front of more people. Your support allows me to keep bringing these deep dive, high value insights into the crypto community. All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, we got some breaking news yesterday, and this is one of those moments where if you blink, you will miss just how big this actually is. BNY Mellon. Yes, that's BNY Mellon is launching tokenized deposit services, and Ripple, specifically RLUSD, is sitting right at the center of this. And the implications for XRP holders are massive. We're going to break all of this down step by step so you understand what's happening and why it matters, and how this changes the long-term game for XRP. We also need to talk about Ripple securing major licensing in the UK, because that news dropped as well, and together these two announcements tell a much bigger story. If you saw my video yesterday on this, you already know that. So it's a good day to be a Ripple and XRP holders, ladies and gentlemen, and a full member in the XRP Army. Let's get into it. Ripple plus BNY Mellon, what just happened? Ladies and gentlemen, Ripple posted yesterday, today, our partners at BNY launched tokenized deposit services for institutional clients, bringing the promise of digital assets directly into the banking system of Ripple Prime. As early adopters, we're proud to expand our long-standing strategic collaboration with BNY, the primary reserve custodian for RLUSD. Together, we are bridging traditional and digital markets. Now, let's look at BNY's own words. BNY says, BNY expands digital cash capabilities by enabling on-chain mirrored representation of client deposits, balancing on digital asset platforms via tokenized deposits. Let this sink in, ladies and gentlemen. This is massive, massive. This launch advances BNY's ambition to support programmable on-chain cash for institutional market infrastructure. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not crypto hype any longer. This is bank infrastructure. Hardcore bank infrastructure, ladies and gentlemen. Let this sink in. Totally hardcore. This press release is dated today. What tokenized deposits actually mean, ladies and gentlemen. Here's what BNY is doing in plain English. They are creating on-chain digital representations of client demand deposits on a private permission blockchain. The legal deposits remain on traditional bank ledgers for regulatory integrity. Initial use cases, ladies and gentlemen. Collateral, margin workflows, near real-time settlement, programmable money, all governed under BNY's existing risk, compliance, and control frameworks. Why does this matter? Because global financial markets are moving toward an always-on model. Institutions want faster settlement, less friction, more transparency, better liquidity, efficiency. Tokenized deposits solve that. And BNY is positioning itself as the connective tissue between traditional banking and digital asset rails. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to remember who BNY Mellon is, okay? It's super, 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 super important. 55 trillion in assets under custody, banks custody their assets with BNY. This is the backbone of global finance. This is a huge deal. They're a titan of industry, ladies and gentlemen. They're beyond hardcore. That's why it's so massive about all the things I've been always talking about. Structure. I've been talking about structure nonstop. Structure, structure, structure. If you're new, ladies and gentlemen, other videos, structure, structure, structure. Why this matters for RLUSD? Now let's talk about Ripple, ladies and gentlemen. BNY is already the primary reserve custodian. That's massive too. And transaction banking provider for RLUSD. As BNY builds out tokenized deposits, tokenized money market funds, and stablecoin infrastructure, RLUSD becomes the enterprise-grade stablecoin. That plugs directly into that stack. And this is why Ripple chose BNY Mellon. There are things happening behind the scenes. Yes, 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 yes. There are things happening behind the scenes that haven't been announced yet, ladies and gentlemen. You do not see this level of integration with other stablecoins. You don't see USDT here. You barely see USDC here. This is bank-native digital cash. Ripple waited for NYDFS approval because they knew RLUSD was going live inside federated bank chains. Ripple Prime, cited as an early adopter, means RLUSD Treasury, margin, and Prime services are sitting directly on these rails. Tether, USD, and the historical parallel. Let me pause right here for a moment, because this moment mirrors one of the most important transitions in financial history. Go back to the early 1800s. Every private bank issued its own banknotes, ladies and gentlemen. This is one of my favorite parts of financial history that no one ever talks about, okay? They all look like money. They all trade like money, but they weren't trusted equally at all. Some were backed by audited gold reserves. Others were backed by promises. Over time, markets learned a lesson. Liquidity always collapses towards trust. Fast forward to today, Tether, USDT, is incredibly useful for offshore liquidity and global crypto markets, but it was never designed to live inside regulated banking systems. USDC is a step forward, regulated, compliant, fintech friendly, but it still lives mostly at the edge of the banking system. Now look at RLUSD. It's not being bolted onto banks. It's being built inside them. BNY Mellon is not a crypto bank, ladies and gentlemen. It's a custodian of global finance. This isn't a retail crypto. This is institutional plumbing. Institutions don't ask, is it liquid? They ask, is it allowed? And that's what Ripple waited. That's why BNY Mellon is the custodian. That's why this matters. Well, happy Saturday morning, everybody. So much news to talk about. I want you to understand something, and I'm going to be framing this as we go forward in all of our videos, and I'm going to want to remember this video and the video yesterday, okay? How I want to frame this is why I always said that to us and everyone I talk to, that XRP is like crude oil in the ground, okay? It has so many purposes and uses. It's quite unbelievable, so you want to own the ground. I don't look at things as a chartist, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not a chartist. We have surgeons in our office that are chartists that are legendary, okay, for the last 20 some odd years, and people that taught me charts when I was first 17, 16 years old. I like the charts to be predictive of the macro story we're going through. There's so much happening right now, but for XRP, and I'll go forward framing this is the year about structural adoption. Whenever you get any form of physical commodity concession, right, a lot of development goes into that. You have geological surveys, you have PPM surveys, you have all kinds of reports first that go back out to the brass. And then when it comes back, you know where you're going to go with this, okay? Structurally, what's happening with XRP, it's just heating up, and it's phenomenal, okay? I was giving an example about an arbitrage of one market overseas in another time zone and another market here in a time zone. You can buy and sell and close that arbitrage and take complete advantage of it in seconds utilizing XRP. Why I said it's out of the layer. Again, that's coming from sitting behind the trading desk and the prop desk. That's not coming from a theoretical standpoint. There's a lot of people out on YouTube, crypto people that I love, that do a phenomenal job of talking the economic theory, but I doubt they've ever sat behind a prop desk where they're actually trading yards of something that's on the line. So it's great to talk about something, but until you're actually pushing the button and you're next in the sling, I don't think you understand how powerful XRP is. That's why I salute these crypto influencers, right? I love them because they have the courage to say how it is, really, honestly. And they've been getting kicked in the face for 5 years talking about something that I have to give them a salute and a hat tip, right? So getting back to this, right? And these guys are, they're wired in and they're squared away as far as I'm concerned in what they're doing. But getting back to what I'm talking about, framing this, right? Why this is oil. XRP is coming to a light now, and I'm going to frame this with you right now, that at some point, the structural advances it makes is going to leave no room for failure in this, as far as I'm concerned. And this is not professional advice. This is my opinion. Why I say no room for failure, it's going to be utilized. You have the biggest names already using it now, okay? ETFs launching. We spoke about Wisdom Tree pulling out, whatever. The big boys are involved in this right now. The entire financial global system is changing, right? Okay. You have different things pulling you from different places. I look at the chops of what I learned from tips on the pits on the floor of the Mercantile Exchange that we're teaching everyone in our group about this. And if you want to learn this, please come and sign up in the Patreon, the premium section. We have 2 different types. Thank everyone who's supporting the membership channel. The support helps this channel very much so. But why I'm saying this is now every pullback in XRP is going to be bought into by these funds. They're going to gobble everything up, right? I'm going to make a video talking about how Forex trading was once unregulated when we had a Forex hedge fund before that became regulated, and you were able to send money offshore before FACTA and everything like that in a galaxy far, far, far a year ago. Everybody who's mostly in our contemporary age zone understands this, because I remember when it was very easy to set up an APT in St. Kitts, Nevis, the Cook Islands, okay, and use banks in in Belize and using serial numbers and everything like that. You can't do that anymore because of different reasons of why. But again, XRP is the future. And I'm going to frame this right here, right now. The utility case is unbelievable, but there are some risks, right? Let me talk about some risks right here and what we believe. There could be legislation, there could be delays in Congress, there could be macro deterioration, people still talking about the yen carry trade, geopolitical unrest. Look, I read reports about war every day. I have to read these in every time zone of what's happening. I follow conflicts that are not even on the news yet, and I read the local newspapers there. Okay, most people don't do that. I'm following 24 different conflicts right now that the news is not even picking up on, right? Okay, because we have to, because it will shake markets, right? One of the cases I put out to a family office, and they love this, is XRP will allow you to move in and move out like a strike, lightning, and take advantage of a situation and then cover it before having a problem. The speed of it is unbelievable. Even XRP haters, if you send money to someone using XRP, it's there in seconds. So as far as I'm concerned, once you try it, like if you went to a restaurant or your free samples or your local store that get free samples, it's very hard to dismiss, right? But these are the things that could hurt it. You could have whales come in and sell it at this point right now. Okay, fine, but it's going to be bought into. Someone asked me about accumulation. If you're looking for serious accumulations, and this is not financial advice, what I'd be doing for myself, I'd be looking at 120, 150, 175 layering out, right? Because it's in a tight range, and that's institutional price range trading. Institutions will see point A and point B, and they're going to play it all there. And because so much money is now in this area going from point A to point B, it's very predictable. The retail aspect of this market is being sucked out by institutions, okay? But going forward right now with this, right? This is the truth. There's real world adoption coming in every day, what we saw in the UK, right? But what I say about geopolitical risks, I was reading a whole report yesterday about weapon systems that can be used in the Baltics, right? And I'll throw up some articles about this in writing something in our Patreon, in the free section, premium section, everything like that, about what actually cuts the cables underneath the water. It's quite shocking what's going on, because another tanker was seized. So do you think the adversaries around the world are going to sit there and let them get robbed like some brand new letter of marque that, like, being a privateer, we take your oil and then basically you don't get anything back? Oh, please. Come on. If you believe that, then someone's got a bridge to sell you. I don't believe that whatsoever. I believe at some point there'll be pushback. But this is what it takes when you have to watch everything. Why having the conviction right now and having a plan and having smaller trade? If you're trading leverage, please remember what we said about Jesse Livermore, smaller trade sizes. I want to frame that for you. You got to be able to get, cut it, add to it, carry it, because leverage is all over the place right now, right? We're going between two trenches and then we're in the middle of no man's land. So if we step in there, please have an exit strategy, okay? But the macro charts, what it's telling to me is, you know what? The world is changing right now. Rebalances is coming next week. So why you have the conviction, at least I have the Gucci clarity and conviction right now, and I hope you're getting this when you come and spend some time with me as our channel grows and the Wolfpack grows and everything like that. And I love that we grow, and I love everyone's questions. Yesterday, I don't want to say out our names, but I was so happy to see in the comment section, someone is actually following the cocoa trades that we're talking about, and she's doing really, really well. So I give you a salute to you. You know who you are. I'm so happy for you, because you're learning. You're learning, right? And you know what's amazing? Again, the world's going to change. So, when you look at price points are used for traders to get in and get out to make their numbers. When you look at the structural plumbing of what's being put in here, that's long-term. I don't ever intend to sell my XRP. The people that retain our organization globally are never going to sell their XRP. It's not going to happen. The world is going to change, and as it changes, you want to be holding the ground. You don't want to sell your ticket to the ground, as far as I'm concerned, right? So you use a bag for cold storage. You send that puppy off. You put that away. You bury that in the backyard. It's like buried treasure, like grandma's buried treasure. You bury that in the backyard. You do that. And you have some stuff that you're going to use, lightning maneuvers to grind some things out, that you look at the chart where you'll take advantage of different price levels. But I don't intend to sell anything for myself, for my family, for anybody, okay? Because this is the future. Now, As the things that we're talking about begin to take fold, like I always said, it's a settlement asset, it's structure. And then before you know, when you're looking at the chart, you see where this is going. That's a very exciting thing. But geopolitical right now, what I am paying attention to, and I spend a lot of time on the phones right now, is potential government shutdown, the bill that's going to come up doesn't pass. I'm looking at some serious hotspots in certain parts of the world that are going to flare up, that I'm not going to talk about this on here right now. Like I just talked about that weapon system I'm talking about, that you can drop it in the water, that's designed for drones underwater that can cut cables. It's quite scary as far as I'm concerned, right? Again, okay, I hope peace prevails because I'm a financial mercenary. I don't want to see people get hurt anymore because that's just sad as it is, right? I like helping people get to where they want to go, okay? But I look at macro deterioration, legislative delays, look at utility disconnect. I look at the haters, but at the end of the day, they can't stop progress where it's going. The geopolitical risk right now is so skewed to the upside. You've got to be prepared for that. That's kind of what I'm watching. But as more of the light shines in XRP and RLUSD and Ripple, all the things they're putting together, it's unbelievable. You start using their, as a money manager, if you use their prime bank and you use their FCM, you use all these things they're putting together, whatever language you want to use, and all the different markets they have, you'll have speed of hand. You'll have first move advantage of trading certain products. That's it. That is what institutions are going to get right off the bat. That's valuated proposition. You use everything inside their ecosystem, you will be able to take advantage of trades much faster than your adversaries. And everybody on Wall Street follows everybody, dumpster diving, whatever you do. That's why everyone got crushed in Lehman and chopped up like sushi. That every financial collapse, because everybody does what everyone else is doing, they go off the cliff. It's the people that come out and blaze a trail that no one else is paying attention to, that have that Gucci clarity, that don't get cut up like sushi. So as everyone, ladies and gentlemen, we are the remora swimming underneath everyone. What a time to be alive. So, you know, if you're looking at charts, I don't want to throw out price predictions, but you could see $5, you could see $10, you could see different plays, right? Those are trading levels. Could we see pullbacks to 170 to 150, maybe even 120? Potentially, yes. So if you're going to accumulate and you're going to look to scalp, as far as I'm concerned, it has to be pay attention to your own situation. Make sure you stop losses. Make sure you wait for it to get to the appropriate levels so you maximize your risk to reward situation. Then you go for it, ladies and gentlemen. How this sets up an XRP now, this is where XRP enters the chat, ladies and gentlemen, because once you have the tokenized deposits, permission bank chains, stable coins, tokenized money market funds, how do you connect them all? Private systems don't talk to each other easily. You need a neutral bridge asset. That's where XRP lives. BNY's move validates the always-on programmable money thesis. Liquidity, they need liquidity. XRP becomes the routing layer, the hedging layer, the settlement bridge, not a speculative asset, a stabilized, specialized liquidity tool. The more RLUSD is used as the stable layer inside banks, the more XRP becomes neutral, connected between systems. Ripple's UK license, this is massive. Let's talk about the second part of the news here. Ripple just secured an electronic money institution EIM status from the UK's Financial Conduit Authority. The license is extremely hard to get. In 2024, 9 out of 10 applicants were denied. What does this unlock? Ripple payments fully regulated in the UK. Banks and fintechs can plug in compliantly. This expands where Ripple can legally route real money. The US, UK, EU, Singapore. Ladies and gentlemen, Singapore is like Switzerland of Asia. Everybody's doing business there. If you're not in Singapore, you're not a player. The pipes are going global now. Ripple is now one of the most licensed digital asset firms on the planet. And if you're going to be a global liquidity provider, you'll need licenses. Big picture, what Ripple is doing, Ripple skipped the IPO. Instead, they poured capital into infrastructure, acquisitions, licensing, social plumbing, 40 billion valuation, 95 billion plus in payments processed. No Wall Street theater, just execution. If you're frustrated by price action, step out for a second with me. Ask yourself your conviction, why you're in this, when you got into this. Also, ask yourself this, who's building a system that replaces the old one? The only game in town is Ripple. Nobody else is doing what they're doing. You know, even, we put up an article yesterday in Patreon, even Tether's looking for gold backed now. They're coming up with something with that. Ladies and gentlemen, we're entering the next phase of global financial infrastructure, and Ripple, XRP, and RLUSD are positioned right at the center of it. Your engagement helps get this information in front of more people, ladies and gentlemen. And I love reading your comments. I actually love taking the time to comment back with them. I do when I get the chance. Thank you so much for sharing some time and tuning in, liking, subscribing, and sharing your thoughts ever. Your support allows me to keep bringing these deep dive, high value insights to the crypto community. I need you to stay emotionless. and I'll see you in the next video. If you made it this far, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you. Thank you, everyone, for telling me about my plant, Babs. I don't think it's going to make it. I think that someone came in and kind of watered it with tap water instead of using distilled water. Why I keep talking about structure in the future? You had today, right now, breaking news. You have the president, POTUS, saying that they want interest rate to be capped at 10% on credit cards, and the U.S. is going to help. Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to see so many changes this year. It's going to be lightning fast, right? Sometimes when things are lightning fast, I'm going to frame this for you. Stay with me. I learned on the floor of the Mercantile Exchange, lightning fast. You have to really have the conviction of why you're doing what you're doing. Why I say conviction is when I first learned on the floor of the Mercantile Exchange, there were no computers. People were coming in and they had things written on a card. They put in their little schmuck. That's it. There were no computers to look at. So they saw the charts in their mind. That's why when I say I don't use charts, I see where it's going in my mind. It's a long forgotten practice that we're teaching everyone in the premium version of Patreon how to do that, how to actually see where the chart is going without charting things, okay? Because you can see the news is going to influence it more than anything. It's just no algorithm can teach you that, right? That's taught on the job, because when you learned on the floor of the Mercantile Exchange, that was being a journeyman. That was like being in the union. You learned that first, okay? So structurally where we're going, this is happening. You can't stop what's happening, okay? I don't care about the noise. You don't like, I don't like this one, you don't like that one. I don't care what you like. I only care about what's good for you and your family, what's good for me and my family. I can't tell you what's good for you and me. I know what's good for me and my family. That's why I am doing this, and that's why the people that retain our organization retain me. I told you yesterday and a couple of videos ago, a lot of people that retain us, they generally don't like me, but they love my tactics and what it gets them, because in this game, it's about results. And it takes unique kind of people to deliver results day in, day out, always, okay? You're not trying to be friends with them. You like your boss because of what he provides you. You don't have to be his friend. You like the lifestyle he gives you by working for you. So I have made a career of myself by telling people what they needed to hear, not what they wanted to hear. Finance is what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. You have to understand this. It's a zero-sum game. There's no room for mistakes, and there's no second chances. So structurally, this is changing. Now, what I learned from these great floor traders and families, while your position size is small enough, you can ride it out to where you're going. In futures, you got to roll over the third week, because if not, you're going to have delivery. We're going to look back on these dates, and it's going to be something unbelievable, right? Tune out the news. Tune out the news. See where you're going. We have begun a long, frosty march up this frosty mountain, and I hope you have your frosty beverage with you, because we're all tethered together and we're going. That's it. And everybody, if you're brand new here and you made it to this point, I have rants at different parts of videos, and, I'm trying to give you real world, views. Ladies and gentlemen, this content is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It should not be taken as financial advice. Always do your own research, but consult a licensed financial advisor before making decisions. Remember, the game is changing, and those who understand it first will benefit most. Make sure you're on the right side of it. You have two choices. You can be like the crowd, reacting after the move, realizing why they missed it, telling ourselves the level that happened again, or you can be the one who saw behind the curtain, the one who understood the infrastructure shit, the one who positioned early, not randomly, but intentionally. Because some moments in history are loud. Things that change everything are quiet right until the moment they're not. And this is one of those moments. Do not blink, because the world is distracting you with noise, while XRP continues developing behind the scenes and building momentum in the broader digital asset landscape. Stay sharp, stay informed, accumulate knowledge. You move now, be remembered. This is not the end of the story. This is just the beginning. If this opened your eyes, smash that like button, ring the bell, and leave a comment with your thoughts. Turn on notifications while supporting and subscribe to the Crypto Public. We break down the major global banking trends shaping digital assets today, giving you content, clarity, and research you can use. Don't just watch history happen. Stay informed, stay ahead, stay in the Republic.